Então já estamos ao vivo. Boa noite, pessoal. Eu sou o Edu, seu apresentador aqui do Superreef, e hoje mais uma entrevista muito especial. Antes de nós começarmos, eu quero dizer para vocês, eu vou colocar o link, depois de eu terminar a entrevista aqui, eu vou colocar o link do Reef Builders, lá do Jake Adams. O Jake hoje postou um vídeo sobre a entrevista, teve a gentileza de compartilhar a nossa entrevista também, e isso me deixou muito feliz. Já é o segundo ou terceiro post que ele faz aqui sobre o Brasil, os primeiros lá na loja do Ricardo, também fez umas coisas junto com o Jeff, e fico muito feliz em saber que o nosso aquarismo, o aquarismo do Brasil aqui, está começando a ter um pouquinho mais de visibilidade ao longo desse nosso mundo, dessa grande comunidade que é o aquarismo. Antes da gente continuar, mais uma vez, eu quero pedir para você que não é inscrito no nosso canal, se inscrever. E ao longo do canal, ao longo da entrevista, se vocês estiverem gostando, deixar aquele joinha que é muito importante para nós. No canal, essa é mais uma entrevista, uma série que nós estamos fazendo com várias personalidades. Nas próximas semanas aí, nós vamos ter mais uma vez com o Ivan, da Piscicultura Tanganica. E também vamos estar recebendo o Robert. Provavelmente vamos estar recebendo o Robert da Marindipo. Estamos em negociação com mais outros 2 convidados internacionais, que eu ainda não vou divulgar o nome ainda, mas são bem bacanas e todo mundo vai gostar. E hoje à noite nós temos o maior nome, um dos maiores nomes aí em iluminação para o aquarismo marinho. Ele que já foi palestrante de inúmeros máquinas, é uma figurinha carimbada já do máquina, e é uma pessoa de extrema simpatia. Nós vamos estar recebendo com vocês danariddle. Dana, I was saying that it's quite an honor for us to have you here. And man, we have heard all your lectures over there and all your studies. This has given a huge background to our hobby. So it's a great pleasure to have you here. And in the name of the Brazilian aquarists, reef keepers, welcome to us. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, well, let me begin by saying the honor is mine, and I certainly do appreciate the invitation to speak to you.
Vamos começar dizendo que a honra é minha e eu fico muito feliz em ter o tempo para conversar com vocês aí. And Dana, as entrevistas vão ser conduzidas em português e em inglês. Eu vou falar as perguntas e vou falar a pergunta em português e vou falar a pergunta em inglês para o Dana, tá? E assim a gente vai fazendo um bate e volta. Quero pedir para vocês, pessoal, para tomarem 1 minuto do tempo e compartilharem esse link, tá? Eu não tive tempo agora de compartilhar às 8 horas, então, por favor, façam isso para que a gente tenha uma boa audiência aí para conversar com o nosso amigo Dana, tá? Compartilhem no máximo de grupos de vocês, por favor. Vamos lá, vamos para a primeira pergunta. Dana, eu gostaria de saber como foi a tua trajetória nesse hobby. Como que tu entrou, quais que foram os primeiros reefs que tu teve, os primeiros aquários de recifes de coral, o que tu estudou e como que começou o laboratório. Dana, firstly we would like to hear from you about your personal trajectory, how you got into the hobby, how were your first reefs, and also a study background that we go later on.
All right, well, as always, my interest began when I was a child, and as most interests do with children, there's an initial interest there that carries on into their adult life.
Como sempre, o meu interesse começou quando eu era criança. Como todas as crianças, existe um grande interesse, uma grande procura em saber mais coisas sobre isso.
My first acquaintance with aquariums was my dentist, and I was about 5 years old. He had probably a 10-gallon tank, and it had guppies and some anacris plants in it. I was fascinated.
O meu primeiro contato com o aquário foi com o meu dentista. Eu tinha 5 anos e ele tinha alguns guppies, tinha umas plantas, e isso me deixou fascinado.
Later, we took vacations to Florida, and my brother and I would catch little fishes and seahorses in the seagrass beds there. And I had a pet octopus when I was probably 9 years old.
Oh, and how long he lived?
Unfortunately, I had him in a 1-gallon bowl, and I put him in a 20-gallon aquarium, and he crawled out. So I only had him for maybe a month.
Oh, boy. Ele numa viagem para a Flórida, ele ia com o irmão dele lá e ele pegava cavalo marinho, pegava uns animais que viviam ali na parte de grama que tinha, né? Na vegetação marinha que tinha lá. E ele também relatou que ele chegou a ter um polvo. O polvo, infelizmente, ele viveu 1 mês só, porque ele fugiu do aquário. Não era tapado e ele acabou fugindo.
I had my first marine aquarium, and it was a fish-only tank in 1964. I was 10 years old.
1964. Em 1964, o Dana, ele teve o primeiro aquário marinho. Ele tinha 10 anos. E isso. Okay, and which animals you have over there? And how was the reefing hobby over there, Dana? Because in 1964, man, I believe that things were quite different, right?
Oh yeah, it was fish only. No one was keeping corals. There was no live rock. It was mostly marine fish coming out of the Florida Keys.
And you could keep the fishes alive for a long time? It was via water chains? How it was?
Yeah, back then, if you kept, at least for me, if I could keep a marine fish alive for a year, I was doing pretty good. But this was back in the days when I had a small allowance. I didn't have a lot to spend on an aquarium.
O Dan, o primeiro aquário do marinho dele, ele teve com 10 anos, né? Era um aquário só de peixes apenas. Isso foi em 1964. E naquela época a definição de sucesso era conseguir manter os peixes por mais de 1 ano. E ele tinha uma mesada muito pequena e ele tentava fazer o melhor com isso. Okay, and how the hobby changed over there to had your first corals?
My first reef aquarium was, let me look at my notes, 1988.
1988.
Yes, it was a 29-gallon aquarium with some live rock that came out of the Florida Keys.
So Florida Keys has a big importance over there through the years for the marine hobby over there.
Yeah, until it was shut, you could get a lot of live rock out of the Florida Keys until about 1998 or 1999, when Florida shut it down.
Em 1988 foram os primeiros corais dele, né? Ele conseguiu ter esse primeiro coral de Recife que era com rocha viva. A rocha viva ela vinha de Florida Keys, que foi fechado, a extração foi terminada em 1989. Então até lá muita coisa vinha de lá. And how it was, this is one thing, Dana, Dana, isso é uma das coisas que eu quero perguntar, porque a gente está vendo grandes avanços no hobby hoje, né? Como foi essa mudança de 64 até 88? Houveram grandes avanços ou tu acredita que agora está num ritmo maior? Tena, we have been discussing this for a few times now, and we saw a lot of changes in the reef keeping hobby on the last 5 years. To be true, a lot of equipment, a lot of understanding. How was this change from 1964 to 1988? Were there many technological advances, or how you describe this period?
There were huge advances made during that time period. The aquarium I had in 1964 had a single fluorescent tube for lighting and subsand filters, and that was it. That's all we had at that time.
Em 1964, ele usava só, por exemplo, uma lâmpada fluorescente em cima e ele tinha as placas para fazer a filtragem. Era isso, não tinha mais nada. And in 88, how it was? Which were the advances that you could describe on this period?
oh my goodness. The protein skimmers became very efficient.
Oh,
It wasn't until the late 1980s that the lighting for coral reef tanks, became more important. So and also there was an understanding of nutrient control in an aquarium.
em 1988, quando ele começou com o Reef, já existia já os skimmers eficientes. Já se tinha já uma ideia, já se sabia como funcionava o ciclo do nitrogênio, os nutrientes dentro dos aquários. Então isso tornou isso possível. Okay? And these corals that you had over there in 88, they were already Acroporas, or which type of corals it was?
The corals that we had came in with the live rock, and they were mostly the cespitosas and or the cladiphoras. They were very small corals that came in with the rock from the Florida Keys. Mainly back then, it was an anemone tank, and I had the condylactus anemones with a few clownfish. But it was the forerunners of the reef tanks.
Quando ele tinha, a maioria dos corais que vinham junto com a rocha viva. Não eram corais específicos, né? Eram corais muito pequenos e simples. Lá naquela época, o foco dele eram os palhaços com anêmonas. Ele tinha a Condylactis passiflora, provavelmente. E ele tinha ela junto com palhaços. And the clownfish, they made symbiosis with the Condylactis passiflora?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
Yes.
And what was the question?
The question was, did the clownfish made symbiosis with this Condylactis? Because here in Brazil, the Condylactis is quite hard thing.
No, but I tried anyway.
Não, ele não conseguiu fazer com que eles fizessem simbiose, mas ele tentou do mesmo jeito. Yes, I was wondering about that because, man, here in Brazil we have the Condylactis gigantea. This one is forbidden. So there are few imports from Tahiti, from the Condylactis passiflora. They are physically the same, but both of them, the clownfish doesn't like them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my experience too. I'd like to add one thing. That first reef tank I built a separate tank that had a pump to transfer the water into the tank that was filled with algae. And it was probably one of the first refugiums in the United States. And I wrote an article about that, and it was published in Seascope in 1989, I think. There was one other person that wrote an article for Seascope, and it was a guy named Julian Sprung. No one had ever heard of him, or at least I hadn't. So Julian and I got our starts about the same time in publishing articles.
Oh, that's nice. Então, primeiro, deixa eu falar sobre a questão das anêmonas, né? Ele disse que ele tinha a Condylactis. A Condylactis, provavelmente, que ele tinha era a passiflora que vinha ali do Tahiti. E eu comentei com ele que aqui no Brasil nós temos a Condylactis gigantea, que é proibida de comercializarmos, mas já tem vários importadores aí que estão trazendo a Condylactis passiflora. Só que o palhacinho não faz simbiose com elas, é muito difícil. E daí o Dana falou que é a mesma experiência dele, não teve sucesso tendo os palhacinhos com as Condylactis. O Dana falou que em 1989 ele tinha uma bomba que jogava a água do aquário para um Audi Scrubber. O Dana falou refúgio, mas o Jake já ia estar aqui xingando a gente. Então, jogou para um local com as macroalgas. E ele foi um dos primeiros a fazer isso. Ele, inclusive, escreveu um artigo para Seascope, que era uma revista lá dos Estados Unidos. Is Seascope already still running or not?
I don't think they are. I haven't seen one in years.
A Seascope parou, provavelmente parou, né? Não tem conhecimento, eu também não escutei mais sobre ela. E ele escreveu um artigo sobre isso, e tinha um outro cara que tinha também nos Estados Unidos, que era o Julian Sprung. O Julian também escreveu sobre isso. E os dois praticamente começaram a falar sobre esse tema e a publicar artigos na mesma época. I will just mention regarding Jake Adams, because in the last interview that I had with him, he let quite clear that refugians are the ones that you have with rock and sand, and the ones that you have with algae only, they are algae scrubbers. So I was just just playing with the audience. Okay. And which algae types do you had over there, Dana? It was already Catomorpha linus, or it was Caulerpa sp?
Yeah, it was the Caulerpa.
It was a Caulerpa.
Yeah, the Prolifera. Yeah.
And why Catomorpha was not popular till that time? Have an idea about it?
It just wasn't available.
Mm.
Atlanta ran way behind on the reef hobby. What was popular on the West Coast would probably take another, 5 years or so to get over to the East Coast. So Caulerpa was available coming out of Florida, so that's what we had.
I understand. E ele usava a Caulerpa porque a Catomorpha não era popular onde ele morava. Ele morava em Atlanta, então simplesmente era por uma questão que estava lá. And e tinha sucesso com isso, Dana? Tu conseguia ter uma exportação suficiente com isso? And how about that, Dana? Does it was successfully exporting nutrients, exporting nitrate and phosphates?
Yes. Yeah, there were no problems with nutrients. Of course, the only testing kits we had back then were the Lamont test kits, which were strictly a visual perception of the color of the sample. But yeah, there were no algae problems. All the algae was growing in the refugium.
So that was quite amazing. By the time, I believe that was quite amazing, a really important finding, because till now, there are people still struggling with nutrient exports, and well, you had that such a long time ago. It's quite amazing. Então, o Dana não tinha problemas com exportação de nutrientes naquela época, tinha uma alta taxa de sucesso. E eu comentei com ele que, nossa, isso é incrível mesmo, porque até hoje ainda tem muitas pessoas que sofrem com exportação de nitrato e fosfato. E o Dana já tinha isso resolvido lá em 89. Sorry to disturb you, Dana. Continue, please.
No, not a problem. I guess that's all I've got to say. I'm looking at my notes here, sorry. But, yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Dana, e o que tu fez profissionalmente? Tu sempre tu trabalha com essa questão de aquário, de hobby, ou tu fez outras coisas? So, Dana, that time you were still already working 100% of your time with the reef keeping industry, or you went for another major? How was that? How was your professional life?
Yeah, my goal was to be a marine biologist, and fortunately that did not work out because I would never have made enough money to afford the equipment that I would buy later. So I was trained as a manager, and also when I went into the water field, I was also trained in laboratory analyses, and I had a license issued by the state of Georgia that certified me to be a laboratory technician. So I was a manager and a laboratory technician at the same time.
Oh, and the management that you were, it was on which field?
It was the water, drinking water, wastewater, and irrigation fields. That would be what I did during my professional life.
That's quite convenient.
Yeah,
convenient.
Yeah, it really was. I couldn't figure out if my hobby was my work or my work was my hobby.
O Dana, então, o que ele fez? Ele teve que se envolver com outras coisas profissionalmente. Ele queria ser biólogo marinho, mas ele não ia ter conseguido dinheiro, provavelmente, para comprar todos os equipamentos que ele tem. Então, primeiro, ele virou um laboratorista. Ele é um técnico em laboratórios, ele tem uma certificação pelo estado da Geórgia para isso, e ele também exerceu funções de gerenciamento em estações de tratamento de água, na verdade, água para irrigação. Então, foi muito conveniente. A vida profissional dele girou em torno da qualidade de água. Ele é um técnico em laboratório e isso favoreceu todas as coisas que ele fez. E, Dana, tu ainda trabalha com isso ainda? Tu ainda exerce a tua profissão? Ou tu te dedicas já somente ao hobby? And, Dana, you still work for this company, or you're already retired and focus only on Dana Labs?
Yes. I retired 3 years ago and moved back to Georgia. But, you know, the work that I do with a hobby, I'm a moderator with Reef to Reef, and I get a lot of requests for interviews, and I'm still writing. So lately, the marine hobby has still been a full-time job.
Oh, that's nice. O Dan, ele se aposentou há 3 anos e ele agora se dedica para o hobby, e isso está virou o trabalho dele de turno integral. Ele é um dos moderadores do Reef to Reef e está sempre recebendo um monte de convites aí para participar de entrevistas e respondendo perguntas. Então, mais uma vez eu quero dizer, nós estamos muito felizes por te ter aqui, Dana, e por te ter aqui conversando conosco. Eu sei que o teu tempo é muito valioso e nós, em nome dos aquaristas do Brasil, te agradeço. So, Dana, for this reason, once more I want to tell you that we are quite happy to have you here, to have from your time to be with us, Brazilian aquarists. Thank you very much for that.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for the invitation. One thing I'd like to add, can we try to post the first picture I have? Being the manager and lab technician allowed me to move to Hawaii in 1999. And let me post a picture from that I took from the deck on my house. Let's see how this works out.
For sure. O Dan, ele vai vai agora compartilhar a tela conosco. Ele, com o trabalho dele, ele teve a oportunidade de se mudar no Havaí, de morar no Havaí fazendo isso. Então foi mais uma experiência. So that's truly a quite convenient job, Dana.
Yeah. Let me try to find. Oh my goodness, where did that file go? We didn't have any problem when we went through the trial last night.
Don't worry. We have all time.
Let me see. Share screen. I go to Control Tab. Let's see what happens. Okay.
O Dan está tentando compartilhar. Nós treinamos ontem. Agora ele vai compartilhar a tela com nós. Eu vou aproveitar esse tempo, pessoal, para dizer boa noite. Sejam todos muito bem-vindos aqui ao nosso canal aí. Lúcio Passos, Alfredo Reis, Sidney, quero agradecer também ao meu amigo Luiz aí, que está sempre aí presente. Júnior Melo, Misael, são 2 figurinhas carimbadas aqui conosco. Gabriel Lafis, Paulinho botou uma pergunta aqui, Paulinho, a gente já vai conversar sobre isso. Ledo, Júnior, o Alain, fico muito feliz com a presença de todos aí. Léo Carvalho também está conosco. Aí fico muito feliz e é satisfatório. Mais uma vez eu vou falar aí do postzinho que eu vou deixar para vocês depois que terminar na descrição. Vou botar aí o post do Reef Builders, que hoje vamos mencionados, e isso me traz muita alegria.
Oh my goodness.
Let's do it together. So have you opened the photo?
No, it's last night I could go directly to downloads. And so we went to, at the bottom of the screen, I have share screen, and I click on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But first you need to open the photo.
Okay. Walk me through that. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go. Okay. Bear with me. You can tell this is the first time I've used this.
O Dana disse que é para eu dizer para vocês que é a primeira vez que ele está usando o Zoom, que não é para vocês ficarem bravos com ele, tá? Dana, don't worry, because we had already another guest that were not so familiar with computers as well. So anyway, after the interview finishes, we just give good laughs about it. Don't worry.
Okay, I've got the photograph open.
Okay, so now you go to Zoom.
Okay.
And then share screen.
This goes to a blank screen, Zoom. So let me close that out. Oh, I hope I didn't lose you. Are you still there?
No, I'm still here. Maybe you could use the Control tab. Use the Control tab to find our screen.
Okay, hold on just a moment.
Vamos aproveitar para compartilhar a tela. Compartilhe o link da entrevista. Já voltamos à programação normal.
Oh, this.
Don't worry. After a few minutes, we try again, okay?
Okay. Yeah, I have the photograph open, and when I go to share, it won't let me go to that file for some reason.
Double-click the photo. Double-click the photo.
Okay.
And then it will open a new program. After that, you go to Zoom, to our screen, the screen that you are seeing me, and then you go to share screen. That will work.
Oh my goodness, it's not. And this is a beautiful photograph too. I really wish I could share it. So just bear with me.
Oh boy. In a few minutes, we'll try that again.
Yeah, you know, we did this last night and we could open it right up. I'm not sure what I'm doing different tonight.
A gente fez isso ontem de noite e funcionou perfeitamente. E a gente fez agora, antes de começar a reunião, e tinha funcionado também. And actually, we did a few minutes before we started the meeting, the live, and it worked.
Oh boy, this makes me feel very silly.
Don't worry, Dana, don't worry. It happens, it happens.
Let me get back to Zoom. Okay, open up. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you clearly. Let's do that. If we cannot manage to open the photos now, you have it published in somewhere, right?
I do, but I'm not exactly sure where that photograph is. It's my cover photograph in Facebook. It's a sunset that I took.
Oh, I know, the one where you wear with the sunglasses, right?
No, actually, this is a shot out over the ocean of a spectacular sunset. Okay, I've got you back.
Okay.
So let me try share screen again. The photograph is open. Huh. Well,
we can try that later on, Dana. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't be upset. One thing that I need to ask you is to go back to the place that you were, because here the lights, we cannot see you clearly. That's
okay.
right.
There we go.
Então, pessoal, a gente vai tentar depois, tá? Daí, se a gente não conseguir acessar a foto, o Dana vai falar isso depois. Dana, tu me falou que tu trabalhava fora, né? Tu tinha essa outra função aí com controle de água e tudo. Mas e quando que tu começou publicar os artigos, tu sempre manteve isso concomitantemente com a tua profissão? Ou foi só em 89 e depois tu parou? Dana, as you mentioned to us, you had another full-time occupation by the time, 2-3 years ago. How you did your research? How did you publish your articles? How was that? You are always uninterrupted from 89 to here, making it together with your job. How it was that?
Yeah, I was very interested in the hobby, and I started writing some very basic articles about my observations in a marine aquarium in the early 1990s. And they were published in a magazine called Marine Fish Monthly.
Uhum. Ele sempre foi interessado com isso e começou a escrever os primeiros artigos básicos lá naquele tempo. Tinha outra revista que era a Marine Scene. Which was the name of the magazine?
Marine Fish Monthly.
Marine Fish Monthly. Yes. E daí ele publicava lá em 90 e pouco, ele já estava publicando os artigos já a respeito. And all the articles that you did for the love and for to share your findings, right?
Well, I think they paid $125 an article.
Oh, and, boy, that's cool.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good, and it basically was paying for my hobby.
Oh, that's nice. Ele recebia pelos artigos que ele escrevia, ele recebia $125 por cada artigo que ele escrevia. Se fosse no Brasil, ele ia estar muito bem. If that was in Brazil, it would be quite good situation, Hannah. Maybe a lot of new corals every month.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I did, I started investing in laboratory equipment. That money that I got.
From the 90s, you already started making money, bringing equipment for the lab.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
There was a lot of confusion about lighting in the early 1990s. And I was going to the universities in Atlanta and going through their libraries and copying every article that I could find on corals. And they kept talking about something they called PAR. I had no idea what it was. And I finally figured out what it was and that I could get a meter to test for that. And back then, the meters were $1,500. So I took that money that I was making with the articles and invested it in a $1,500 PAR meter and started the research.
That was quite nice from you. E nos anos de 90 lá, ele começou a escrever esses artigos e esse dinheiro que ele tinha, ele já usava para gastar com equipamentos. E ele ia em várias bibliotecas, ler a respeito de corais e tudo, e todo mundo falava de par. O que era par? E naquela época, um par meter custava em torno de $1.500. E ele usou o dinheiro que ele ganhou com esses artigos para comprar o primeiro par meter dele. I believe it was a Lycor, right?
Yes, that's correct. A Lycor.
Lycor.
Right. And at that time, I was the only private individual in the United States to have a quantum meter or a par meter.
O primeiro medidor par dele, um medidor quântico, né, quantum meter, foi dele um Lycor, que é o Lycor, que é uma marca importantíssima nos Estados Unidos. Antes, para vocês entenderem, só com a Apogee que começou a ser barato isso. Antes era em torno de $1.500, $2.000. Então, ele foi o primeiro indivíduo privado a ter um par meter. Yes, and how it was over there? It was precise. It was easy to read, or things changed from there?
Oh no. Well, things have certainly changed. You can get a really good par meter now for $200 or $300 US. Apogee Instruments has some very, very good instruments for aquarists.
I believe that Apogee has no concurrence, right, Dana? Or is there any companies, any concurrence on this same price range?
Yeah, there are some other companies that offer quantum meters. One is Spectrum Technologies. the issue with those is they're not corrected for the immersion effect.
Oh, okay.
So
That's the difference from the yellow to the blue one, right?
Right. The new blue meters from Apogee are made strictly for underwater use, where the other ones you have to apply a correction factor. As
And
far as
how
I
about
know.
the Sinai, Dana? The Sinai are okay, right?
Sorry?
The Sinai are okay, right?
I have one of those, and they're pretty close. And you know, I've got one, and I use it. They're not cosine corrected, and you have to apply an immersion effect factor to it. But you know, if you're willing to do that, they're perfectly fine.
For a hobby level, I would say that they are okay. Would you say
They're going to be pretty close, yeah.
Então a gente estava falando, né, que hoje a Apogee é a líder de mercado, né, com 500 e poucos dólares, e eles têm já o fator de correção para imersão. Essa foi a diferença do Apogee do amarelo para o azul, tá? Para quem não conhece. Recentemente a Apogee lançou um mais portátil, mas a grande diferença foi entre o modelo amarelo e o modelo azul. E os concorrentes que hoje existem, eles não têm esse fator de correção, com exceção do Senai, só que o Senai ele não tem uma precisão muito grande, mas para nós hobbyistas vai servir. Então, Dano, o teu primeiro equipamento foi um par meter, então. E daí tu já começou a escrever a respeito, já começou a ver diferenças já nisso, tu já começou a estudar os corais. So, your first equipment was a par meter. And you already had knowledge from what to do with it. You already saw difference that coral need higher par from that time.
Yes, you have to recall that when I started measuring lights, that even the actinic fluorescent lamps were just being recognized as something that you would use in an aquarium. So, yeah, I started measuring the par and explaining what that was through my lighting writings. And then I realized that we had to take spectral readings too, which led me to investing quite a bit of money in spectrometers to look at spectrum.
You're a married guy, right?
Girlfriend, yeah.
A girlfriend, okay.
Yeah.
Because my wife wouldn't let me to buy so much equipment, man.
No, I would have never had all this stuff if I was married.
Então, não, eu perguntei pra ele, cara, mas como é que tu conseguia ter todos esses equipamentos aí? Porque se tu tá casado, porque a minha esposa não ia deixar eu comprar tudo isso. Ele disse, não, tem uma namorada que se eu fosse casado, eu não ia ter conseguido comprar. Okay, so this thing is also all over the world, so...
Yeah, I hope I'm not in too much trouble.
You haven't told her the prices, right? Because, you know, here when we buy $100, $200, $300 fish, we just said, oh, no, $10. $10 most.
No. My lab, over 30 years, I have almost $100,000 worth of equipment in the laboratory now. So, you know, I made a lot of sacrifices to get that. I drove older vehicles and, you know, gave up a lot of things to be able to buy that equipment. So I earned everything that I have.
Man, we owe you a lot. All the research and the articles and the things that you did, you made possible for all people in the world. And your job is going to be seen through many and many generations. I'm sure about that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Então a gente estava falando ali que, puxa vida, até me perdi, cara. Puxa vida, me perdi. Se alguém quiser me ajudar aqui, se o Luiz quiser me ajudar, eu me perdi. A gente ficou conversando ali, bobagem, e esquecemos disso. Daí o Dana complementando ali, o Dana pegou e falou que ele abriu mão de muitas coisas para ter esses equipamentos. Ele tem mais de $100 mil em equipamentos. E eu disse para ele, Dana, as coisas que tu descobriu e que tu fez, a nossa geração tem os aquários por causa disso, e muitas gerações por vir vão ter também por esse trabalho que ele fez. Lembrei, quando ele começou a estudar isso, começou a fazer as medições par, ele viu que ele também precisaria medir o espectro. Na época que ele começou, lá em 1990, só naquela época estavam começando a aceitar que as luzes actíneas eram importantes, tinham importância para o hobby. Então, ele decidiu estudar isso. O teu primeiro espectrômetro veio muito tempo depois ou já chegou logo? Your first spectrometer, it came right away or it took a few years later?
Actually, I was in Hawaii, and Senator Inouye got money for aquaculture grants, and I received two $6,000 grants to look at different things about aquaculture of corals, and so that helped considerably. I was able to buy the first spectrometer with that money, and then conduct the experiments with it.
Ele recebeu dinheiro, uma verba governamental, para comprar os espectrômetros na época que ele morava lá no Havaí. Então isso ajudou consideravelmente, e lá ele comprou os primeiros espectrômetros. In Hawaii, when it was that?
That would have been 2001, I think.
Foi em 2001 isso que aconteceu, na época que ele morava lá. E naquela época, Dana, o pessoal já entendia ou tu foi literalmente o primeiro em considerar o espectro como um fator de grande importância? Over there in 2001, was already the understanding regarding the light spectrum as well, because T5s, they were a thing over there or not? 2001.
Well, let me explain. Reef aquariums are illegal in Hawaii. You cannot legally keep corals there. So I was working with Sea Grant Hawaii, and they had some coral exhibits for tourists, and I volunteered my time to take care of those coral tanks, and in return I got to do all the experiments there legally. And
quando ele estava no Havaí, lá, recifes de corais são proibidos lá. Tu não pode ter recifes de corais legalmente, aquários de corais. Então ele trabalhava para essa empresa chamada Sea Grant, que tinham corais públicos. E ele se voluntariou para trabalhar lá no tempo livre, e em troca ele podia conduzir os experimentos de forma legal dentro do laboratório, dentro lá do aquário.
I'm sorry. Was that a
yes,
question
you can
for
go
me?
on. No, you can go on. I had just finished
okay.
the translation.
That was a very good relationship with me. And there was also an academy for high school students in Kona that had all the permits for coral tanks. And I was able to work with them too. So I had two sources of corals to do these studies. Also, there are a lot of marine biologists in Hawaii, and I was able to work with Miguel Olazola, he discovered the xanthophyll cycles and zooxanthellae, and he was there. And when I went on to buy more equipment like the PAM fluorometer, Miguel was there to teach me how to use that. And I also had a lot of correspondence with Dr. Charles Mazel, who was with MIT, about coral fluorescence. So I had a lot of good mentors to
then this understanding about coral zooxanthellae and the spectrums, everything is quite new. Only 20 years we are talking about, so that's quite surprising.
Yeah. The PAM fluorometers, they had not been, well, I think maybe one or two people were using them for corals, but even Miguel Olazola, who was very well acquainted with the xanthophyll cycles, didn't really understand what was going on with corals. So,
nessa época que ele morou no Havaí, ele teve a oportunidade também de trabalhar com estudantes que também tinham acesso aos corais, e ele conheceu pessoas muito importantes, como Abigail, what's her surname?
Last name,
Yes.
Olezola.
Abigail Olezola. E ele foi o descobridor, né, quem apontou a zooxantela, inclusive, nos corais. E isso trouxe um monte de gente com sabedoria para ele conversar sobre esse tema e desenvolver esse tema. Isso foi em 2000, pessoal, 20 anos, recém a gente estava caminhando no que era um espectro correto, uma intensidade correta, e também sobre as zoochantelas. Okay, and at that time, we already had T5 in the hobby or not, Dana, in 2001?
You know, I don't know because I was in Hawaii and I really lost touch with the hobby for a number of year. Since there was no demand for that type of equipment, since reef tanks were illegal, I really didn't know a whole lot about what was going on.
But this idea of spectrum it was already established in the hobby, or you just need to figure it out?
Was what established in the hobby?
The idea of the right spectrum for the
the right spectrum. Yeah, there had been some work done back in the 80s at the University of Hawaii that found that red light was not good for corals. But these were done with filters and not with artificial light sources. So, you know, they were pointing in a direction, but there was still a lot of research to be done in that area.
Naquela época estava sendo apontado apenas os primeiros apontamentos sobre a questão do espectro correto de luz para os corais. Houve uma pesquisa do laboratório da Universidade do Havaí que dizia que a luz vermelha não era boa para os corais. E isso é uma pergunta que cabe. Se eu não me engano, foi o Márcio, meu amigo Márcio, que perguntou. Qual é a influência e a importância de termos espectros vermelhos dentro das luminárias? Dana, this is one question from the audience that a friend of mine, Mr. Márcio, has asked me that I should translate to you. Regarding the red lights that we see in some light fixtures, is it beneficial? Does it give problems to the corals, or is it needed at all? What's your opinion regarding red spectrum LED?
You know, if you've been diving and you get down to 40 feet or so, there's very, very little red light. So corals don't need it. But red light has been found to regulate the number of zooxanthellae in coral tissues. So red light plays a part. If you have a lot of red light on a coral in an aquarium, it thinks it's in very shallow water and starts to reduce the number of zooxanthellae so it doesn't harm itself with, you know, too much photosynthesis.
So more red light, less zooxanthella.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And this is especially beneficial, I would say, for example, in Acroporas, that you want to have the less rate of zooxanthellae to have a better coloring coral.
No. We'll discuss that in a little bit. That's an entirely different subject. Yeah, I've got some notes on that.
Okay.
We can discuss it now if you want to, about the coloration.
Então, pessoal, assim, essa questão o Márcio me fez essa questão sobre a importância dos LEDs vermelhos nas luminárias. O Dana, ele falou que quando tu mergulha, quando tu vai no fundo, não chega luz vermelha nenhuma. Só que existe uma relação com o coral. Quanto mais luz vermelha chegar nele, é porque ele está mais próximo da superfície. E isso regula a quantidade de zooxanthella que vive no tecido. Ou seja, quanto mais vermelhos, menos zooxanthella vai ter no coral. E eu perguntei para ele, isso é importante, então, Dana, na questão, por exemplo, Acróporas. Acróporas a gente quer que elas tenham um mínimo de zooxanthelas para que elas tenham o máximo de coloração. Então, é correto a gente afirmar que a luz vermelha é importante para a gente ter corais mais coloridos? Then if you want to go now to tell us about that now, I think that it will be interesting, so we can share a little bit and making these additions. What say you?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so please tell us why this logic is incorrect. Why cannot we state that the red light is good to improve the acroporas, for example, acroporas coloration?
It is violet and blue light that promotes coloration, either the fluorescent proteins or the non-fluorescent chromoproteins in corals. Hopefully I can get some of my pictures to work. And I have some of those to demonstrate about the zooxanthellae concentrations in tissues. But anyway, red light regulates zooxanthellae density, but it's violet and blue light that actually causes the coral to color up.
Existe conceito chamado cromoproteins, proteínas da cor, vamos dizer assim. E elas significa que um coral ele recebe uma cor e ele emite uma cor diferente. E essas cores são o violeta e o azul. Eles tornam o coral fosforescente, tá? Não é o vermelho. O vermelho regula apenas a densidade. Então a importância na coloração dos corais, como as acróporas que nós estamos falando agora, vem deste azul e deste violeta. Mas em relação às cromoproteínas, a gente consegue entender a questão da fosforescência. Então, o vermelho ele pode ser descartado. Regarding chromoproteins, we understand about the violet and the blue, that they receive the colors and make the coral more phosphorescent. So can we say that exactly the other things, the reds have played no important game? We can have light fixtures without red colors. Can we state that?
Well, you know, a little bit of red light is beneficial for photosynthesis, but it's not absolutely required. But if you want to color up the coral, use the violet and the blue light.
Então, respondendo à pergunta do Márcio, o vermelho tem uma determinada importância, mas ela é muito pequena. Ele precisa de um pouquinho para favorecer a fotossíntese, mas não é necessário. Se tu quer providenciar, melhorar as cores, vai para o violeta e para o azul. Understood. Okay, let's continue. And Dana, so you mentioned to us regarding the QA equipment that you bought, the articles that you wrote, and after that, after you retired, you came back to Georgia, you moved back to Georgia, and nowadays, your occupation is fully for the hobby.
Yes.
Right? And you do product reviews. How you do that? How you make that be working for you also as an income, let's say?
You know, it depends. If I have the funds available, I'll buy the equipment and test it. I just did reviews on the new radions, a Reef breeder, and what was the other one? Oh, the new Coral Care from Philips is coming out of Europe. Those were all done as loaner lights to me. I didn't buy them. In fact, I'm waiting on the labels so I can ship them back to the supplier. So
he could give you one, huh?
No, I haven't asked for anything. I did sell one article to reefs.com, and I'll publish the other ones on Reef to Reef.
Então, olha só que bacana, pessoal. O Dana não recebe nada. O Dana, alguns artigos ele vende, como ele vendeu um para o Reef to Reef, mas todos os outros do Coral View que ele recebeu agora, que ele fez a publicação da Radium, todos o pessoal mandou para ele, ele testou, não cobrou nada, e agora ele está esperando a etiqueta para mandar para devolver as lâmpadas, para devolver os equipamentos. Dana, that's quite altruistic from you. Once again, thank you very much for doing these things. We are all curious about that, and to know that there are people that does that in order to, because of the love for the hobby, man, that's great.
Yeah, I really question my sanity after I spent almost 2 months in the lab doing this work, and the article that I sold was not for a lot of money. I was working for, below minimum wage. So normally I wouldn't have sold it, but it was just so much work that I said, I got to get something out of this. I've given up 2 months of my life, and let's try to get a little bit of money, and I'll go buy a coral with it.
Man, that's nice. Então, o Dana dizendo, ele questiona até a sanidade mental dele, porque ele faz isso, se dedica tanto, e ele não faz dinheiro com isso, né? Ele disse que comentou de um produto ali que ele fez, mas ele teve que cobrar alguma coisa que ele dedicou 2 meses da vida dele, daí pelo menos ele ia comprar um coral novo para ele. and today you keep reef tanks, Dana?
I'm sorry?
How many reef tanks you have over there? Or you only do the study?
I just have one reef tank right now. That's all between the testing and of lights and the other experiments that I'm doing. I don't have time to maintain more than one reef tank, but I'm very, very happy with it. The corals
Which
are growing
animals
out
you have in there?
Well, I've got about 50 stony corals in it right now. And, it's a mixed reef tank. It's Goniopora and Fungia, Acropora. And then I've got a mix of fish too. I've got some clownfish and yellow tangs. And I'm really not a fish person. I just like the color of the fish. I'd rather spend what little money I have on corals. So that's what I'll buy an expensive fish and the more expensive corals.
Nice. Eu perguntei pro Dana, tá aí, Dana, tu tem quantos aquários tu tem? Ele disse, eu tenho um só, tô me dedicando com um só porque eu não tenho tempo. E ele disse que ele é mais uma pessoa de corais, ele tem muitos corais, ele tem 50 corais duros, aí 50 SPS. E peixes ele tem alguns, tem uns palhacinhos, um yellow tang, e é assim que ele vai se dedicando. Vamos começar para as perguntas aí, para as perguntas principais, pessoal. Algumas perguntas vieram do Júnior Melo. O Júnior fez contribuições bem importantes aqui, são umas 4 perguntas dele. E a primeira é uma frase do Sanjay. Fóton é um fóton. Isso procede, Dana? Isso é verdade? Ou tem luzes melhores entre HQIs, LEDs, T5? So, Dana, one of the first main questions, it's a statement from Sanjay that we saw in the video. And this question is from Junior Mello. Sanjay said, a photon is a photon. Is this statement true? Is there any better light typing between HDR, I would say, metal halides, T5s, LEDs, or we can state that a photon is a photon?
Well, Sanjay is correct. A photon is a photon, but there's a lot more to it than that. What light is best for you depends on your budget. If you have to have a chiller on your aquarium to maintain temperature, or on the other hand, maybe the heat generated by a metal halide is beneficial during the winter where you need the heat and you don't have to run a heater. So, the thing is maintain proper intensity. Spectrum plays a secondary role. And there's no such thing as a best light, because a green algae absorbs different wavelengths than a red algae. So there's no universal best light. So it really comes down to, your particular needs and your budget and so forth.
The spectrum is secondary to intensity?
Yeah. Well, within reason. If you run an entirely red light on a coral, you're going to kill them, but nobody does that. You look back in the day when we were told to run cool white light, fluorescent lights to maintain a coral. They were okay with it. So corals are adaptable, but the amount of light that they absorb, if there's too much light, that can harm them. So, yeah, the intensity of the light, in my humble opinion, is secondary to the spectral quality of that lamp.
O que o Sanjay falou é verdade, o fóton é um fóton, mas a tua seleção para uma luminária, para um método de iluminação, vai depender do teu orçamento. Se tu não se importa com, por exemplo, pelo calor gerado por uma HQI, se tu vai ter um chiller para resfriar a água, ou o teu gosto pessoal. A luz, segundo a opinião do Dana, ela prevalece a intensidade luminosa, prevalece a quantidade de par, e o espectro é secundário. Isso de acordo com a opinião dele. Em tempos antigos se mantinha lá com luzes brancas, com T5 brancas e os corais, com T8 brancas e os corais estavam bem. Os corais se adaptavam, né? Então, o par, ele tem uma importância primária e já o espectro é secundário. Sendo secundário não significa, né, Dana, que um espectro correto vai ter um melhor desempenho, já que quando tu tem um par focado com o espectro correto, tu vai conseguir fazer mais com menos, vamos dizer assim. Dana, so when you have the right spectrum and the right par intensities, it's going to have a much better results from, for example, the same intensity that doesn't have the right spectrum, right? We can state that.
Within reason, if like we mentioned, if you want to color your corals up, use the violet and blue light, but the coral doesn't care if that violet or blue light comes from a metal halide or a T5 or an LED. As long as it gets the proper amount of blue light, the source doesn't matter.
Oh, I see it. I see it. So it's going to more regarding an efficiency thing. Right? Então, que o Dana falou? O que importa, né, para tu colorir uns corais são os azuis e os violetas, e o coral não vai se importar se vem de uma HQI ou se vem de uma T5. A questão é que tu vai se tornar mais eficiente com isso. Se tu tem uma luminária que gasta 90 watts largando nas cores corretas, tu vai conseguir fazer 90 watts em cores no espectro cheio, tu vai conseguir ter um desempenho muito menor com menos energia despendida em uma que tenha uma curva correta. Então, essa aí é a grande diferença. Isso responde à segunda questão lá do Júnior, que é mais importante, espectro ou intensidade, né? Então, espectro é secundário, tu tem que manter a intensidade, mas com o espectro tu consegue ser eficiente. A gente vê hoje muitas luminárias utilizando difusores nos produtos, diferentes dos hotspots que a gente costumava ver, né? Essa moda, essa tendência, ela é benéfica para os nossos animais? Dana, now we see many light features manufacturers offering diffusers for their products. Is this trend beneficial to the corals or besides, because a few years ago we only had hotspots and now everyone is using diffusers. Even the new Gen 5 radio, now it's a big plate of LEDs, right? Instead of the former rows.
Right.
So how you say that? What do you have to tell us about it?
Yeah. Anything you can do to get an even light intensity and get away from the hot spots is going to be beneficial. So yeah, that's definitely a trend in the right direction. Ideally, in my opinion, I prefer LEDs, especially the programmable LEDs for spectrum and intensity and photo period and all that sort of thing. I prefer those. Ideally, it's going to have a light distribution pattern similar to a T5 or a fluorescent lamp.
a preferência do Dana é por LEDs, em que ele consegue controlar o espectro e também as rampas, né? E ele vê, sim, isso como como um grande benefício para os corais, a questão da utilização dos difusores. Regarding the diffusers we can eliminate the hotspots that we used to have it on the centers. With the diffusers, we got a more diffuse spectrum as well, right, Dana?
It doesn't eliminate the hotspots. You're still going to have some, and with the testing of the 3 lights I just did, I found that there are going to be hotspots in the corners of the aquarium where the light is reflected from the internal surfaces of the glass. So just the geometry of the aquarium itself is going to create a hotspot.
Mesmo com a utilização de difusores, ainda criam locais de alta intensidade. Com os testes que ele fez nas 3 lâmpadas, ele viu que os locais de alta intensidade seriam os locais próximos às bordas do aquário, porque ali é refletida a luz. Então, a geometria do aquário vai influenciar bastante nessa questão dos apontamentos dos hotspots. Ok, vamos lá para a próxima pergunta. Existem diferenças. Existem diferenças. No, I was just translating. Now I'm reading the next question.
Okay.
Existem, Danas, diferença entre cores benéficas, cores não saudáveis para os corais? Porque tem aquela questão que um coral com mais zooxantelas ele tem uma alta taxa de crescimento. Já corais com menos taxas de zooxantela, como a gente vê nas acróporas por luz muito alta, isso afeta a saúde delas. Existe um limite seguro para isso? Then it is stated and from common knowledge that more zooxantella means more brownish coral, and that coral, as you also showed, have a bigger growth rate. But we want colorful corals. This means less zooxantella. And is there a safe range that we can assume, or how much it will be safer for the corals for us to do it?
Okay, first of all, as a general statement, I've just started some work in the last few days with fluorescent corals, and I have a chlorophyll meter which measures the amount of chlorophyll in the zooxanthellae, and the chlorophyll content in some of these fluorescent corals is just through the roof. So
the brownish or the ones that have bright colors?
The colorful corals have, because these fluorescent proteins can act as a sunscreen, and it actually allows more zooxanthellae within the tissue. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. There's still a lot of work to be done, but when I started these chlorophyll measurements, I thought the chlorophyll content would be quite low in these fluorescent corals. Instead, it was quite high.
So Dana, that's completely different from the general knowledge, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh boy,
exactly.
That's quite exciting. That's quite exciting.
It's I had seen that before, but I had not published anything. I think I maybe made one Facebook post about it, but yeah, I was surprised. What I'm seeing is completely different from what I expected.
Isso é uma coisa muito interessante que o Dana está falando. Essa mensagem aí remete também a algumas conversas aí que houve no grupo Amigos da Live, lá entre o Dr. Miguel Mias, o Marco Martins e o Dr. Paulo Mallard, onde a gente estava questionando sobre essa questão dos corais. O Marco relatou que corais coloridos, corais com menos zooxantella, no aquário dele tinha uma taxa de crescimento muito grande, muito boa. do que corais com mais oxantela, corais mais marronzinhos, vamos dizer assim, ou mais verdinhos, né? E o Dana está falando que ele já começou faz umas 2, 3 semanas medidores de clorofila. Eu desconheço esse equipamento, vou pedir para ele mostrar até para nós. I'm doing the translation now. Can you show us the chlorophyll meter?
I have a photograph of it. Let me get it. It's right over here in the lab.
Okay.
Let me go get it. Be right back.
Okay. O Dana vai pegar um medidor de clorofila porque eu não conheço esse equipamento. E o que o Dana falou? Que ele esperava o conhecimento comum. Corais mais coloridos têm menos oxantela. Vai ter menos clorofila sendo produzida. Mas o Dana está fazendo as primeiras medições, já, como ele já disse, há 2, 3 semanas, e apontou números absurdos, muito maiores do que corais com mais oxantela. Ou seja, ele está afirmando que esses corais mais coloridos têm muito mais clorofila, produzem muito mais clorofila, sintetizam muito mais clorofila do que os mais marronzinhos. Okay, Dana, show us.
Okay.
This
is it's from OptiSciences, and it's a CCM 300 chlorophyll meter.
Esse é o medidor de clorofila dele, o CC3000 daquela marca ali.
There's the test screen, and I just point it toward the coral. We've got a fiber optic cable that I can put underwater. And then
um cabo de fibra ótica que ele coloca dentro da água para medir. And you need to touch the coral or get how many centimeters from it? How does it work?
It's best to get as close as you can to the coral. Usually I try to get it within a couple of millimeters of the coral. But what this does is it shines a blue light on the coral, which excites the chlorophyll fluorescence. And this meter can determine the ratio of 2 red wavelengths and very accurately determine the amount of chlorophyll in the coral tissue, which of course is in the zooxanthellae.
Foi muitos detalhes técnicos que o Dana falou agora. Resumindo, o equipamento funciona muito bem e determina com precisão as taxas de clorofila. Dana, how different are the numbers from a colorful coral or a colorful Acropora and the one with more zooxanthella? It's 2 times, 3 times, 4 times.
You know, I do not know because I cannot find a brown coral here in Georgia. They're all colorful. And in the tide pools in Hawaii, where, you know, I could only put this thing in, you know, maybe 2 feet of water. And all the corals in the tide pools were Porites, which had the bright green color to them. So I have never tested a brown coral with it. I did test some bleached corals, and the bleached corals would have like 0 to 100 milligrams per square meter chlorophyll, where the animals I'm working with here in the aquarium have more than 1,000 milligrams per square meter. So and then, it's pretty intense.
You try to make your measurements all in how to say that, in natural environment corals, or you can do it, or you do it in our aquarium, for example, maybe a higher nitrate or high phosphate, it will have brownish corals. Why don't you test on this type of corals?
Why don't I test on the brown corals?
Yes, you can't produce it in an artificial environment, for example, a reef tank.
You're saying if I manipulated the environment to produce a brown coral? Oh boy, that would, you know, I guess that's possible. I've never tried it. I think the thing to do is for me to just find a brown coral in one of the aquarium shops, but nobody buys those anymore. They want the, you know, the colorful corals, and the brown ones just sit there. Nobody wants to buy them, so they don't have them.
And which are the numbers you would expect for a brown coral?
You know, more than a couple of 100 milligrams. But You know, that's
Definitely
tough
not
to
near
say.
that 1,000.
I have never seen a number this high in all the corals I've tested. 1,000 milligrams is. I have seen some green acroporas in a neighbor's tank, and he had like 800 milligrams of chlorophyll. But
Então, essas medições de clorofila, elas são por miligramas por milligrams per square millimeter or square centimeter.
Yeah, square meter, right?
Square meter.
To give you an example, like a green leaf on a tree has like 400 milligrams per square meter of chlorophyll. So some of these corals have much higher chlorophyll content than a leaf on a tree does.
Então, ele é utilizado, ele faz a medição utilizando aquele equipamento que tem uma fibra ótica que é apontada a poucos milímetros dos corais, tá? Um coral morto é esperado aproximadamente de 0 a 200 miligramas por metro quadrado de clorofila. Já os corais que ele está medindo, essas acróporas, esses SPS que ele está medindo que são coloridos, eles estão apontando mais de 1.000 miligramas por metro quadrado. E isso é muitíssimo, muito mais do que se espera de corais marrons. Ele ainda está no trabalho de fazer essa comparação, indo atrás desses espécimes, mas para a gente ter uma ideia, uma folha verdinha numa árvore, ela tem em torno de 400 miligramas por metro. Então, isso é uma coisa bem especial. Yes, Dana, we are all looking forward to see this comparison, and because we all believe, and many articles have been written saying the opposite, that brownish corals have bigger growth rates. And this is completely the opposite, right? We can state that more chlorophyll content, it will promote a healthier coral and more growth, right?
Yes. The issue there is if in order to get coloration in some of the corals, like the Acropora, if they have a blue or pink or purple coloration, that's a chromoprotein which responds to light intensity. And if you really blast that coral with a lot of light, these colorful proteins only provide so much protection. They can be overwhelmed if that coral's photosynthesis saturates at, say, 300 micromole par, and you're blasting it with 1,000 micromole, you may very well be overwhelming that sunscreen defense that these proteins provide. So, it's a matter of, spectral quality and intensity all start to come into play here. And we can't make a general statement because there are like 300 different colorful proteins that have been found in corals, and each one of them probably reacts a little bit differently. So it's a very complicated subject. So that's the reason that I need to focus on just one or two animals at a time and see what happens. But this is a $3,000 instrument, and I really need to put it to use. So that's where I'm headed right now. And, it's probably going to take 6 months or a year to get any sort of meaningful data. But I will keep my eyes open for a brown coral and see if I can find one somewhere.
Cada coral tem uma cromoproteína. Não sei se alguém pode me ajudar aí, pode falar aí no chat como seria a tradução correta, né? Que define o limite máximo de aceitação de micromoles por metro quadrado por segundo, par. Então, é um tema complexo em se afirmar isso, que quanto maior a taxa de clorofila, maior vai ser a saúde do animal. Então, ele vai limitar os estudos em alguns animais e isso vai estar seguindo por ali. Uma pergunta que eu quero fazer para ele. Tem várias pessoas aí, vários aquaristas que usam muita iluminação, principalmente para acróporas. A gente sabe que são coisas mais de 900 par, e isso os animais se adaptam. ele acredita que existe um limite máximo para acróporas, por exemplo, ou não? Dana, we see here in Brazil a lot of people using really high par tanks, especially for Acropora animals, and they are surely above 900, 800 par.
Yeah.
Is this possible? Is this healthier? Because many people state, I believe that also yourself, that 300 par, 350 par should be the limit for Acropora corals.
Well, that depends. If you want to generate the coloration, if you start getting above 300 or 400 par, you're going to get the coloration, but the growth is probably going to slow down. Mm-hmm. And I've got a picture, and we'll discuss this. I need to get these pictures to you, and maybe you can post them and
okay.
let your audience see what I'm talking about. But we had it was called a purple monster Acropora that we were growing commercially back in the late 90s, and I think the maximum par on it was like 850. It was a beautiful coral, but it grew very slowly. Now, one thing to consider is self-shading in the branches. Those branches that are exposed to the most light are probably going to be the most colorful, but the zooxanthellae are going to do better in the shaded parts of the coral because you're not giving them too much light.
O Dana está afirmando que, segundo a opinião dele, a partir de 300 par, o número de zooxanthellae vai cair muito, e isso vai fazer com que o coral tenha cores mais bonitas, indefinitivamente, né? Definitivamente. Porém, as taxas de crescimento serão menores. Então, ele acredita, sim, nesse limite superior de 300 par, 300 micromoles por metro quadrado por segundo. E ele, inclusive, relata que isso vai depender também da formação do coral, dos galhos, vamos dizer assim, onde recebem menos luz, eles vão estar mais saudáveis, provavelmente, porque a intensidade não é tão grande. Então, sim, o Dana acredita nesse limite superior. Dana, so we can say that, according to you, which are the healthier pars for Acropora corals?
As long as you meet the just stay below the saturation point on the zooxanthellae, and that's going to usually be between 200 and 400 micromole on most corals. That there is a difference with the tridacna clams. It, in my opinion, it's almost impossible to give them too much light. I did some work, and I couldn't find the saturation point on photosynthesis, and I later found a master's thesis where the guy had repeated what I did, but he went with much higher light intensity, and he could not reach saturation point at sunlight intensity. So these clams are light hogs. They can use
for
all
the clams.
The light you can, the tridacna clams. Now with corals, 200 to 300, you're going to, if they can express that color at 200 to 300 micromole,
including Acroporas.
Yes. Now I've got some, and I'll send a picture. I've got some really beautiful corals, Acroporas, growing in the tank behind me, and they're only getting like a maximum of 200 or 250, and they're growing like weeds and have really nice coloration.
O Dana, então, acredita que a taxa máxima para corais, incluindo as acróporas, né, é de no máximo 300 par. Se tu passa disso, as tuas taxas de crescimento vão começar a reduzir. Ele tem corais crescendo lindamente ali no coral dele, no aquário dele, que ele não consegue só mostrar as fotos para nós, tá? A grande exceção são as tridacnas, os bivalves aí que nós temos no aquário. Não foi possível achar taxas de saturação nesses animais. Inclusive quando se foi colocado os níveis de par do Sol. Se eu não me engano, é em torno de 2.000 a 100 par. Sunlight is about 2,100 micromoles per square meter per second, right?
Yeah, a maximum. I think the most I saw in Hawaii was just under 2,200 micromole. So,
Em
yeah,
torno de 2.200 no par. Essa foi a medição máxima que eles fizeram no Havaí. E mesmo assim, as tridacnas não apresentaram ponto de saturação. Então, elas podem absorver quanta luz a gente tiver. Não tem problema nenhum. And one thing, then, let me try to follow the thing over here, because after that I want to ask you about the relationship between the flow rate and the light intensity. But first, let's go from the other questions.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, actually, this one is the next question. How important is the water flow associated with the high par, the 300 par that we were mentioning for the coral growth?
Well, the water motion is almost if just as important as light intensity. If you're there's something called a boundary layer that exists around any object, either in an airflow or water flow, and the boundary layer is for our intents and purposes, the boundary layer is a layer of stagnant water around the coral. And if your water flow is too low, that boundary layer gets very thick and it prevents diffusion of substances into the coral tissue and out of the coral tissue. So as the water motion increases, that boundary layer gets very thin. And when we're talking about a thick boundary layer, we're talking about maybe a couple of millimeters. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, that's enough to slow down the diffusion in and out of the coral.
Dos fatores mais importantes para o crescimento dos corais, tão importante quanto a iluminação, é o movimento da água. O coral ele tem uma camada em volta dele, se chama boundary layer, camada ciliar, camada que fica em volta do coral. E ela impede que o coral receba nutrientes, elimine as toxinas da fotossíntese, e isso afeta diretamente a saúde dele. Se tu tem baixa movimentação de água, essa camada começa a ficar mais grossa, e uma camada grossa são pouquíssimos milímetros. Então, o nível de água de circulação é extremamente importante. Dana, os teus aquários têm substrato ou não? Qual seria a velocidade da água que tu julgas importante? So, Dana, here comes a question. Are your tanks bore bottoms or you have substrate on it? And what would you say that it's a correct water velocity inside of the tank?
I do have sand in my aquarium, and it's a Carib Sea. It's the very, very fine sand. I want the detritus to stay on the top of that sand layer. And I have live rock in my aquarium and spaghetti worms and some shrimp and tiger conchs work that sand bed and keep it clean. If that sand bed had a very coarse gravel, that detritus would work its way down into that sand bed and cause some problems. So I went with a very fine sand. But to answer your question, I have a water velocity meter, and it's the most expensive piece of equipment that I have in my laboratory. It was $5,000 when I bought it like 20 years ago.
Oh boy.
And we did some measurements on a Hawaiian reef, and the average velocity was about 15 centimeters a second.
15 centimeters per second.
It'd be six inches a second, right? So that was on a calm day. Of course, when it gets stormy, the water velocity really kicks up. But if you can maintain 3, 4, 5, 6 inches, and you can look at the air bubbles in your aquarium and get an idea of the velocity they're traveling, that'll give you a pretty good idea. But water velocity is not all that difficult to maintain anymore with the propeller pumps. Personally, I use the Tunza propeller pumps.
O Dana, ele tem um substrato super fino no aquário dele, porque os mais grossos acabam penetrando sujeira e isso gera problema, né? Então ele tem alguns animais que fazem a limpeza. O equipamento mais caro que ele tem no equipamento no laboratório dele é esse de medição de velocidade da água. Ele pagou na época $5.000 e ele já fez essa medição lá no Havaí, inclusive, e o que ele achou lá era em torno de 4 metros por centímetro. Não, 4 centímetros por segundo, perdão. E isso já é um fato bem fácil da gente conseguir medir hoje, porque a gente tem essas bombas com propulsoras, com propellers, e isso a gente já consegue ter uma boa velocidade dentro. Na entrevista que a gente fez com o Jake, ele falou claramente que deveria ser 27 metros por segundo, que isso era muito importante, mais importante do que a iluminação, segundo os estudos dele. Eu quero perguntar para o Dana se ele já teve alguma conclusão parecida. Dana, on the interview with Jake Adams, he stated that according to his findings, the velocity of 27 meters per second, centimeters per second, it would be the better one. To promote more coral growth and to eliminate the boundary layers that you mentioned to us. Do you find a bigger number to give benefits, or only the 4 centimeters per second? It would be enough.
Yeah, I'd like to see Jake's work and how he determined that, which instrument he used. But there have been a number of studies done by various researchers, and this related to water velocity and prey capture. In other words, the amount of food particles that a coral could catch at a certain water velocity. And what they found is some of these animals have a preference for a certain water velocity. Did you say 27 centimeters?
Yes, I believe it was that.
That's almost 1 foot per second. I don't want to dispute his numbers without seeing the details about his study. Jake's a very accomplished aquarist, and I have a lot of respect for him. Personally, I feel like that is too high, and I think I can back it up. But again, I would like to, see how he determined that.
O Dana falou que existe uma velocidade para os animais serem capturados. Ou ele não está familiarizado com o trabalho do Jake em relação a essa questão, essa determinação de 27 centímetros por segundo, que eu me lembro que ele tinha comentado isso. E ele falou que é um ponto de vista, mas ele ainda não conseguiu chegar nessa conclusão. Vamos lá para a próxima pergunta, então. Uma pergunta do Mark Johnson. O Mark Johnson é um inscrito no canal, ele é da Inglaterra, e ele falou sobre uma apresentação do Máquina de 2018, em que o Dana falou sobre o efeito de vários metais na fluorescência dos discossomas, né? Principalmente o crômio, em níveis maiores do que os encontrados na natureza. E ele queria saber se existem já estudos parecidos com acróporas e se eles têm resultados similares. So, Dana, these questions come from Mark Johnson, a fellow reefer from England. And mention us that in 2018 you had a really interesting show about the various effects on discosomas fluorescence according to high levels of chromium, higher than nature chromium levels. Have you already done that for acroporas or other corals? What were your findings?
No, I haven't, and that is one of the few experiments done on the impacts of metals on coloration. I've gone through 200 or 300 research papers on coral coloration, and to my knowledge, that's the only one that exists. So, no, as far as I know, that's the only data on the effect of metals on coral fluorescence, and that was just for the DS red proteins, which were originally isolated from the discosoma. Now, some of those DS red proteins are found in Acropora, but we're talking about a class of proteins and not a specific protein. So I don't know if that data generated for discosoma is applicable to Acroporas. And honestly, I don't have the resources here in my lab to continue with that sort of research. I would need an ICP device to check for metals in really low concentrations, and we're going to have to leave that up to the universities that have unlimited resources. I wish I had an answer, but I'm just being honest with you. I can't do it in my lab.
But man, in this lab, you're only missing an ICP machine, huh? All the others ones, you have it.
Maybe I'll start a GoFundMe and try to get it, yeah.
Oh, that I will be happily to support. O Dana falou que ele já passou por mais de 200, 300 artigos aí e realmente existe só um grupo de proteínas que são afetadas por isso e vivem nesse discossoma. Tem esse mesmo grupo em algumas acróporas, mas ele não fez testes e não encontrou nada a respeito disso. Ele comentou que ele teria que ter muito mais recurso para ter uma máquina de CP ali junto para ele poder fazer esse tipo de pesquisa. Eu disse para ele, bom, a única coisa que falta aí é uma máquina de CP, né, que o resto tudo já tem. Daí ele pegou e disse, vai começar um GoFundMe para tentar comprar essa máquina. That would be nice, Dana. I think that a GoFundMe would be a nice option.
Oh, boy.
Vamos lá para a próxima pergunta. Aqui no Brasil tem muita gente utilizando luminárias caseiras, né? Já que aqui custa muito caro uma luminária comprada. Essa é a pergunta do Francisco Nascimento. Ele vê diferenças, né, nessas luminárias, qual a opinião dele sobre essas luminárias caseiras, e se ele acredita se questões de efeitos, como amanhecer, entardecer, fases de luz, se fazem necessários ou não. Then here in Brazil there is quite a part of the hobby that's making your own light fixture. People do it with the LEDs, and man, there's a lot of people, there's a whole market for that. Because here in Brazil, the lights fixtures, the ones, for example, from Radium, over there in the USA is $800. Here in Brazil, it will be, I don't know, $5,000. It's wow. It's completely crazy here in Brazil because of the import taxes and exchange rates, and well, the acquisition power here is also much less than the ones from USA. And the question is, what's your opinion about these do-it-yourself light fixtures? And regarding the main light schemes that we have, for example, dawn, thunder lightnings, moon phases, and things like that. What is your opinion about those LED functions?
I built my own LEDs back in, I think I started work with them in 2000 and did some research with them, and I published that in Advanced Aquarist, I think in 2002, and it would be another 5 years or so before a commercially available LED light came out. But the work I did demonstrate. I was looking mainly at what the lights would do to the coral, but
Em 2000, o Dana começou já a fazer os primeiras luminárias. Ele mesmo fez. Em 2002, inclusive, ele pegou e publicou um artigo no Advanced Aquarist, esse site aí que todos nós conhecemos, sobre isso, sobre as aplicações dessa luminária que ele fez. Sendo que demoraram mais 5 anos. Lá por 2007, 2008, começaram a aparecer as primeiros LEDs, LEDs, feitos comercialmente.
So, yeah, the work I did demonstrated that the blue lights were adequate for maintaining the coral tissues. In fact, it made a brown coral turn pink in that small area that the LED illuminated. On the other hand, the red bleached the coral out. So that was a continuation of previous works. As far as some of the options you have with the LEDs, I'm a big fan of ramping the LED light intensity up during the day and then falling off. And if you are interested in spawning corals, the photo period and perhaps moon phase can play a part in getting the corals to spawn. But as far as the lightning and storm and cloud cover and all that kind of stuff, that's just, in my opinion, a fancy gimmick. You certainly don't need it. And one thing I'd like to say while we're talking about the LEDs is if you can program the LEDs, set them using a par meter, and don't change them. These new controllers where you can sit there at work and play on your phone and play around with the intensity and all that kind of stuff, that's harmful for corals. Set your lights and don't play with it. Don't, if you want to change it in 6 months. So many people will, they have a wrong setting and their corals are being stressed by it and perhaps bleaching and dying. And then they want to get in play with the light intensity, and that just stresses the coral even more. So,
O Dana, ele teve sucesso lá com a luminária que ele fez. Os corais definitivamente cresceram. Ele conseguiu provocar coloração em determinados pontos, e ele conseguiu também expulsar as oxantelas usando LEDs vermelhos. Então, isto provou ser real. Ele é um grande fã da utilização das rampas do amanhecer e do entardecer. A questão das fases da lua é muito interessante. Isso está indo atrás de procriação de corais, de desova de corais. Isso se torna interessante. Agora, a questão de tu ficar mexendo nas colorações, isso tu não deve fazer, isso estressa o coral. Então, tu tens que ajustar uma vez, utilizando um par meter, né? Ajustando um par meter e deixar daquele jeito sempre, né? Não fazer, não ficar mexendo isso, porque isso é prejudicial. Dana?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, there was no question. Just for you to continue your point, you're telling us that we should not be playing with the controls because this would stress the coral out, right?
Right. Get a par meter and keep your par for Acropora at the bottom of the tank. Keep the par at 200. If you've got a coral that prefers less light, like a chalice coral, keep them in 100 par and watch them. And if you're going to make any adjustments, do it only if you have to, and do it slowly, and don't change your light settings every day. That's
Pessoal,
just so stressful.
Cuidar os corais para a gente não estressar e não misturar eles. Tem corais que preferem menos luz, como por exemplo um cálice, joga eles para o cantinho onde vai ter 100 par. Tu quer uma acrópora, coloca ela para 200 ou 300 par. Vamos ir para a última questão. Agora a gente está tendo um entendimento maior de que a energia que o coral recebe, ela pode ser distribuída. Se eu jogar 300 par em 12 horas, durante 12 horas, eu posso jogar 600 par em 6 horas, em metade do tempo. Quero perguntar para o Dana se isso procede, se é isso mesmo. Dana, we have been saw a different understanding regarding the total par. For example, 300 micromoles per square meter per second. If you have it in 12 hours, the coral will receive an amount of energy. But it's correct for us to state that if we give 600 micromoles per square meter per second for half the time, it would be the same benefits for the coral?
I don't think so. Some corals can take 600 par, other ones can't. I think you're much better off having a lower light level and a longer photo period. There's no reason to change what nature is doing. If you're down at 40 or 50 feet on a coral reef, the peak light intensity is going to be maybe 800, but that's at the peak. It doesn't last very long. So that's the reason I'm a big fan of ramping your light up. And there's something called the daily light integral, where you look at the total of it. It calculates the total amount of light that your corals are getting over the photo period. I think that's really helpful. I've written a couple of articles on that. I think it's on reefs.com now. They bought Advanced Aquarius, and all the articles that I wrote over the last 20 years or so were there on that site. And I know there's at least one on the DLI, and that's a pretty important concept.
Então essa questão ali, ele não acredita que seja realmente verdade, tá? A opinião dele é que é muito mais, tu tem uma taxa de sucesso muito maior em tendo um par dentro do aceitável durante as 12 horas, ao invés daquele exemplo que eu dei ali de usar o dobro de par durante a metade do tempo. Então, com isso, tu vai conseguir ter muito mais sucesso. A última pergunta ali que eu recebi do Luiz, do Carlinhos, né? Ele falou conosco ali no começo, tá? Que tanto a T5 quanto o LED não vai importar, que um fóton é um fóton, que você tem que controlar, sim, na quantidade de par e depois no espectro, tá, Carlinhos? Então, essa foi a primeira pergunta das partes ali que nós fizemos para ele. Pessoal, já estamos nos aproximando aí a quase 2 horas de live. Eu quero dizer para vocês, se vocês estão gostando, deem um joinha, é muito importante para nós. Isso promove as taxas de aparição do nosso canal e não custa nada, tá? É de graça. Então, mais uma vez, em nome da comunidade, eu quero agradecer a presença do Dana, que tomou o tempo, que é uma pessoa que se dedica para o hobby, se dedica por paixão. Os ganhos, como ele falou, é tudo reinvestido dentro do aquário. E eu realmente acho que o Dana tem que fazer um GoFundMe pro ICP. Ia ser fantástico e eu com certeza iria contribuir. Então, Dana, em nome de todos nós brasileiros, muito obrigado por ter tirado o teu tempo para estar conosco. So, Dana, thank you very much, man, for being here with us, for taking your time. And, well, I'm quite surprised to know that, like myself, but in a much, much, much bigger scale, you do these things for the love of the hobby, for the love of the reef keeping, and really give us hope in the hobby and also in humanity. So And then you need to go to start a GoFundMe for an ICP machine. Man, we all would contribute for that, I'm sure.
Oh, goodness. Let me think about it. I don't. Let me ask you, if I send the photographs that I wanted to present, can I get those to you? And can you present those to the club?
Yes, we do that. I'm going to post it on the superreef webpage in Facebook, so it will be published over there, and we create a special album for it.
Okay. Would you send me a notice when that's published? And also, do I have your email address?
Yes, you do. We have exchanged a few emails, don't you remember?
You know, I get like 10 different requests every day. I'm old. My memory is shot. You're going to have to give an old man a little slack. Okay.
And so this makes more special for you to be here with us. Once again, thank you very much in the name of the Brazilian reef keeping community. Okay. Thank you very much for your time, man. And boy, it's quite nice talking to you.
Same here. It's been my pleasure.
Muito obrigado, pessoal. Ele agradece também. Ele fala que ele recebe muitos convites todos os dias. E eu disse, isso daí torna muito mais especial o fato dele estar aqui conosco. Então, pessoal, mais uma vez, se vocês gostaram, deixem um joinha. Muito obrigado. Não se esqueçam de se inscrever no canal. Temos também a página no YouTube e no Instagram para ir acompanhando as postagens. E até o próximo episódio do Super Reef. Lembrando que sábado aí nós não vamos ter, porque eu vou estar indo viajar. E até o próximo episódio, hein? Tchau, tchau e tudo de bom.
All right, good night.
Dana, just give me a second. I'm going to finish the transmission.
Okay.
And Dana, man, thank you very much. It was quite a pleasure to talk with you once again. And,
same here.
And it was quite entertaining.